Hello, good evening, and welcome to another live broadcast of the Cole Memo. I hope you're all doing well. In case this is your first time tuning in, typically I focus on drug policy with a focus on cannabis policy. I'm from Illinois, so I do a lot of boots on the ground reporting from my home state. So thank you all for tuning in. In case you didn't know, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but my name is Cole Preston and I am the host of this show. The show is not named The Cole Memo just because my name's Cole. Google it. It's a reference to federal cannabis policy. Maybe you'll learn something along the way. You can find all of my work at thecolememo.com. I've got more to post on there, but I'm displaying it on screen right now. We've been on a run. We've been on a run. Episode 306 included Colin Corbett, an independent candidate for governor, I should say. I believe the third independent candidate in the state's history, which is pretty insane when you consider it. Episode 305, I had my friend Phil on. And, going back through the episodes, we don't only talk about Illinois cannabis policy. For example, in episode 303, we had a person on from the state of Florida, and we talked about what the state of Florida is like. But speaking of Illinois, there was recently a hidden camera found in an Illinois cannabis dispensary bathroom. Yes, you heard that right. And we talked about that on episode 302. Episode 301 featured Robert McCoppin, a reporter from the Chicago Tribune who's been reporting on Illinois cannabis policy since before legalization in 2020. Episode 300 was great. It featured Damian Fagan from the Parabola Center for Law and Policy. We're listed as a partner on the Parabola Center for Law and Policy's website. I say we. I say that all the time, by the way. When I say we, I mean me, the Cole Memo, the show. So check out episode 300 and definitely check out the Parabola Center for Law and Policy. I've had Shalene Title and I shouldn't say many others, but a few others from the Parabola Center for Law and Policy. They have a lot of experience in cannabis policy, cannabis and drug policy. Episode 299 featured Dr. Eric Lee, who is now participating in Oregon's legal psilocybin program. In episode 298, we had boots on the ground questioning to Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on cannabis policy. This is a little bit of what we do here on
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
I mean, you have to respect the memo.
God damn. Did I start? Okay. I was about to say, if I started this show without a fucking lighter in here. I love this lighter. It's just about Halloween time, and I think it's important to keep your spirit high. Hell yeah. You like that? That's pretty cool. It's a little ghost. It says keep your spirit high. I hope you're all doing well. Happy Tuesday. Oh, I should also mention that the colememo.com is wildly out of date right now. If you go to we're live, by the way, and we go live every Tuesday at 7:15 p.m. Central Time, unless announced otherwise. I might have an announcement later today regarding that. I might be taking a little bit of time off, just a little bit of time. Just from the Tuesdays. You'll still catch me live in between then, because typically we go live every Tuesday at 7:15 p.m. Central Time. And if you're wondering how to catch it live, if you're listening to this after the fact, go to colememo.com/YouTube, subscribe, set up your notifications so that you never miss a live stream. And if you check out our YouTube right now, you will see that we've had a number of conversations. And one of them that happened on Saturday, which was pretty fun, was a debate on cannabis policy with Annie and Brian. And then in the later half, so that was like about the first hour of the show. And then in the second hour of the show, we did some federal cannabis updates. Hemp specifically is what we discussed. And we had a few other people call into the show live. It was pretty crazy. And yeah, it was a good time is what I really mean to say. Oh, speaking of which, I meant to upload a video of my home grow. I was going to show a video of my home grow just to kind of spice this show up a bit because I don't have a ton to discuss tonight rather. So just the quick announcement. I think I'm going to take next Tuesday off, maybe the next 2 Tuesdays off. So we'll see about that. But just a heads up, I'll keep you posted on all of that. How's it going, Brandon? Thank you for tuning in. Genetic Memory Farms, thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I hope you're having a good evening. Genetic Memory Farm says, Cole, it's time to upgrade to the Volcano for the discerning stoner. Have you upgrade? How long have you been using the Volcano? I almost bought the second generation, I think, of the Volcano that comes with like the whip. It's like a tube, and it works just like the original Volcano. But what I thought was interesting was that it had that concept of the whip, because I really like the Dynavap. The people that made the creator of the Dynavap came on this show in the past. I don't use the Dynavap a lot anymore, but every time I use it, I'm like, why don't I use this more often? I really enjoy it. And one of the things I really enjoy about it is that it's like when you heat it up, you're hitting it immediately. It's not like sitting in a bag for a while, which no knock on the bags. I love the bags. They're fun. It's a different experience. You know what I'm saying? But when I saw that the Volcano had this concept of like you could literally connect a tube and hit it, and it's like directly from the Volcano, it's drawing the heat through. I was like, damn, I really want that. Literally almost bought one, but I had moral complications with the rubber tube because like I know how this stuff is. Like I have it, you can't see this bubbler, but there's a bubbler right here. It's hidden behind this. And let me just put it this way. The devices that you use to consume cannabis can get really dirty. And so a rubber tube like that, super hard to clean, not practical at all. And I'm just like, there's got to be something else that allows you to hit it immediately, but he's also easy to clean and doesn't make me feel horrible about disposing of it. Because again, like a rubber tube, you're like throwing it. It's like whatever. Yeah. Anyway, let me know if you have any answers to that. I've always wanted to get a Volcano, but the bags, the trash, that actually is what has been stopping me. I've been beating my Volcano like it owes me money since 2023. The whip is actually totally optimal. Allow me to explain. Please explain. Take your time explaining. While you do that, I'm going to show a segment from Cannabis Coast to Coast News, who I have, if you haven't checked it out, it's WPCM TV on YouTube. I don't know if I already said it, but once again, you can find me on YouTube at colememo.com/YouTube. I'm pretty sure I said it, but WPCM TV on YouTube. I'll show you a quick segment I did on the show. I will just say that I don't write unless it's an Illinois cannabis report. And even then, what I will say is like, it's when I'm a correspondent, I don't typically write what I cover on WPCM TV. If I do an Illinois cannabis report, typically it's mine, but occasionally it might not be written by me. And I don't know. I just wanted to say that because like in this read, I definitely didn't read it exactly as written. So I have some like flexibility there. But I don't know. I just felt like I wanted to say that because, I didn't write the script. And that's what's interesting about like collaborating with other creators. Here is a segment I did on Cannabis Coast to Coast News, which I think you guys might find interesting.
Canadian Cannabis Coast to Coast News Report. This is WFAC. Peace.
If you've ever watched any of the crime shows on the television networks, you know how useful police say traffic cameras have been for public safety and for the tracking of criminal behavior. The Flock camera is a solar-powered recording device, and it's being used in many states to identify drivers who might make an illegal left or right turn, run red lights, or speed. Now, local cities and towns outside of major cities want to use these traffic cameras to, as they say, monitor traffic flow and violators. On the other side, many personal liberty organizations are protesting the use of these cameras for crime control because they believe it invades private freedoms. In Wisconsin this week, police used the cameras to monitor a driver who allegedly picked up legal cannabis in Michigan and drove it across state lines to Wisconsin. He was a Wisconsin resident, and it was flock data that tracked his trip to Michigan and his subsequent return to the state of Wisconsin. Police claim there was a cannabis odor in his car when they identified him and pulled him over and arrested him. And of course, this has caused quite a bit of controversy led by civil rights groups. But law enforcement believe they're protecting public safety and want to continue to use these flock cameras. Now, it's time to get high on Wall Street with our regular reporter, Doug Miller. If you want to get high on Wall Street, you can watch WPCM TV. That was just that flock camera segment. It's real, folks. It's real. I've heard a lot of people, they've canceled their trips because of the flock cameras. Man, it's crazy. Illinois operators have been complaining about Michigan for a while, and all it took was putting some cameras down. And now the problem has been solved. People are scared again. People are scared to go get their weed. No, jokes aside, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty wild. I definitely have been feeling eerie about the flock cameras. I haven't traveled. I can't remember the last time I traveled to Michigan. I used to do it more often. Definitely miss it. It's definitely a better market, especially when you compare it to a state like Illinois. But, I digress. Yeah, I know a lot of people that have canceled their trips to Michigan and that's an anecdote, but because of what's going on with flock cameras, pretty wild. If you're just tuning in, we are live. Drop your comments below. Definitely happy to discuss cannabis policy and all of that good stuff. Speaking of which, we'll just kind of take a gander at marijuanamoment.net. Typically, I'll read marijuanamoment.net. A lot of times I'll just Google cannabis news, sort it by I say Google. I just said Google. I'm actually trying to use different search engines, not only because of the way that company operates, but just because the internet, it's interesting when you use different search engines. Let me just put it that way. Try it out. See what you find. I typically just search cannabis news. I filter by the last 24 hour, last hour, last 24 hours, last week, last month. You'd be surprised. Sometimes, I check it every fucking day. So you'd think as long as I filter it in the last 24 hours, I'll never, because I check at least within 24 hours. You'd think I'd never miss a story, but you'd be surprised. Something about how different search engines work and how things are indexed. I guess if you're a sleuther like myself, really looking for stories, I'm just trying to share the game, because we got a comment in. Here, let's take a moment before we look at marijuanamoment.net and just acknowledge this comment. Brandon Krieger said, "Now that you're a host for a real news station, can we call you a journalist?" I say no. I'm not a journalist. I guess if you take the word literally, anybody that journals or documents or maybe I guess, but I am not like a reporter. That's the thing we have to get straight here. I get people reaching out to me "Oh, I heard you're an investigative reporter. I need you to look into this. I have a lead." And it's hey, I'm it's funny. I almost said I'm just a baby. I just smoke weed and I went and I bought a microphone and a camera. I've been saying that since I started this. I just wanted to do a podcast on weed. Of course, I understand how people draw these things. I have real journalists on the show. Like I said, I have who I would consider to be a real journalist on the show in episode 301, for example. There are many other real journalists I've had on the show. Jeremy Gorner, Tom Schuba, Stephanie Zimmerman, Mike Fouché, Ray Long, to name just a few. I've definitely had more than that. Jason Knight from Illinois News Joint, Brad Spearson from Gronin.com. Mike Fouché was also from Gronin.com, but he also did other things. So I consider those people to be real journalists because they're schooled in the craft, and that's why I always reject the title. So, all right. Anyway, sharing the game here. Thank you, though. I appreciate I'll take it as a compliment because, I'll take it as a compliment because I think it's meant to be nice. But if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. Liking the content, rating it favorably helps more people see the show. So if you can just take a moment to do that, I would really appreciate it. Let's look at marijuanamoment.net for a while. Again, it's a really, really good source of cannabis news. Thank you to marijuanamoment.net. They've featured, I almost said us again. They featured my work, my articles in the newsletter in the last few weeks. They featured my seed report in the newsletter. If you missed it, go to colememo.com and just search up seeds. I'm sure you'll find it. I hope you'll find it. Let me double check. Let me try that out. There was another report that I think it had to do with the passage of the omnibus. They included my article in their newsletter. Thank you, Tom, who writes for marijuanamoment.net, for doing that. I definitely hit him up about my omnibus article, but yeah, if you go to colememo.com and search up seeds, you'll find my work on the subject. The seeds story, though, I did not reach out to Tom about, so that was kind of cool to see that pop up in Marijuana Moment, because I read Marijuana Moment and I saw the story about seeds and dispensaries, and I was like, what's going on here? And I clicked and it took me to my own website. And I was like, oh, cool. That's cool. That's super cool. Anyway, I'm looking at marijuanamoment.net right now. I'll put it full screen. It's a great website with a lot of different news, and some things stand out to me. Apparently, a GOP lawmaker in Michigan is seeking to repeal the tax increase that occurred in Michigan. We covered that on the show in the past. I'm sure if you search up tax Michigan on colememo.com, you'll find some things. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know enough to speculate the legs that proposal has, but apparently, I think I read a little bit into this. Let's take a look at the article. I believe this guy says, like, this Representative James DeSania made this proposal based on the idea that these businesses are, like, people are going out of business and that it's a failed tax, because I know they were projected to get $420 million, but the GOP lawmaker said the tax is generating less than half of what its supporters anticipated, roughly $70 million less in the first 4 months, probably due to the fact that people rightfully freaked the fuck out in the media. But I say rightfully freaked the fuck out because they were worried about their businesses. So all these business owners in Michigan rightfully freaked the fuck out. But everybody was like, oh, the prices are going to go up in Michigan. No, they're not. No, they're not. At least not yet. They haven't figured that part out yet, because Michigan has cannabis culture, right? We've covered it on the show. If you don't get it, watch more of the show. Alcohol retailers and wholesalers support bill to keep hemp THC drinks federally legal. That's a headline from today, August 11th, 2026. Several major alcohol industry participants are backing a new bill in Congress that would exempt hemp beverages from a currently scheduled ban on THC products from the plant, while enacting new provisions to tax and regulate the cannabis drinks like alcohol. So, Wine and Spirits Wholesalers of America, we've covered some of their press releases and stuff back in the day. Let's see, are there any others named here? The Beverage Alcohol Merchants Coalition, otherwise known as BAMCO. BAMCO. That's, yeah. I don't know if they say it like that, but that's how I say it whenever I read it. BAMCO's members include Total Wine and More, Bevmo by GoPuff. I'm familiar with GoPuff. ABC Fine Wine and Spirits, Specs Wine and I don't know any of these brands, but maybe they're something for somebody. Very interesting. It looks like the proposal legal beverages could only contain naturally occurring cannabinoids that are cultivated and processed within the United States. Manufacturers, wholesalers, and sellers of hemp drinks would be required to obtain federal permits. Companies could not sell multi-serving containers larger than 750 milliliters under the legislation. What's the dose cap? There it is. Under the new bill, adults over 21 could purchase and consume THC beverages with up to 5 milligrams per serving. Man, what a bummer. I mean, it's cool that, I guess big alcohol is, and I don't even know if that's fair to say big alcohol, just some alcohol retailers and wholesalers support the bill to keep. I mean, that's cool. It'd be really cool if they were just keep THC legal. Like, when is somebody just gonna, even the people on the hemp side of the aisle, they're like, well, okay, we'll do 5 milligrams. It's like, why? I know why, but because they think that's what's politically feasible, right? They're like, well, people wouldn't accept if we actually legalized cannabis. That's basically what they're saying. They're like, people wouldn't be able to handle it. And that's actually what some of the cannabis, the people that are in the state markets, the operators from the state markets are saying that too. I mean, they said it on a show today. They're like, well, we could do low dose on the show. I say a show, it's the Dales Report. Shout out to the Dales Report. They give me shout outs sometimes. So shout out to them. But they're invested a lot in corporate cannabis. From what I can surmise, they can of course correct that if I'm wrong. I'm sure this get clipped and sent to them or something. But they were talking about the idea that it's okay if low dose cannabis is sold. That's not a big deal, but it's flower. It's, what I'm smoking on right now. It's flower that needs to be shut down. And it's like, and I think they literally said because it cuts into the business. And it's like, oh, it's interesting to hear it that way. Because usually when I hear people talking about banning flower, they use a fucking word salad. And they're talking about how dangerous untested cannabis flower is, which, by the way, I've been smoking untested cannabis flower for most of my life. The home grow that's behind this monitor that you guys can't see, I don't test that. Granted, I know what I'm putting into it. That's what people say. They're like, well, you know what you're putting into it. It's like, yeah, well, know your grower. Know your grower. Like, is it really that complicated? Who do you buy food from? I know our food supply, our food supply is poison, and we don't want to talk about that. So let's hold weed to a higher standard. Sorry, we're having fun. Eddie Med says, "Find yourself a trusted farmer." Exactly, we're having fun. Brandon Krieger, what are you smoking on? Somebody asked me that earlier. I don't know. This is homegrown. I don't know. It's in an old, it's funny. I was going through because I'm preparing for harvest. Again, I wish I uploaded a video beforehand to show you guys a peek of my home grow, but stay tuned for the grow journal. I'm documenting it all. I'm getting some jars. Excuse me, by the way. I'm getting some jars ready. And I pulled out a lot of my old mason jars today and I found some old home grow. I don't remember what it is. It's definitely old. It's like a couple of years old, but it smokes just fine. It smokes just fine. Towards the end of when I'm growing again, but I took a break, and when I started to take a break, I got less diligent about noting what was in a jar. And so I don't know if I can trust what is on the label of the jar because I don't even remember the timeline. But yeah, that's what I'm smoking on. So, Genetic Memory Farm says they're smoking Deep Chunk crossed with C99, or the other jars had been C99 crossed with Hawaiian Cherry Bomb crossed with Vietnamese Black, aka Darkling Sativa from the Rev. Always smoking on a mathematical formula, Genetic Memory Farms is. And I'm reading your comments about. There's a little gnat in here. I'm reading your comments about RSO, and I'll try to. I'm reading your comments about the whip and everything, and I will try to absorb that more later and make that decision. Because the volcano vape obviously has a reason. You know what the thing obviously has a name for a reason. The thing is, what I need to do, I connected with somebody from Volcano once. I need to reach out to them and be like, yo, can you like hook me up? And I'm not saying for free. I'm not asking for a fucking donation, but like, can you give me a fucking deal? And I'll talk about it on the show. I'll talk about it on the show. I know I'm talking about it right now, so they don't need to give me a deal for me to talk about it on the show, but you know what I'm saying? That shit's expensive. That's another thing that's held me back from the volcano. I know that a lot of people say it's worth it. They end up saving a lot of money, but Brandon Krieger says I have some homegrown that I didn't like a couple of years ago. Still have some of it left, and it smokes pretty good, surprisingly. Stored properly, of course. I think it aged like fine wine. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, how it will age. I've had it in I had it in a closet in a box with a bunch of other jars. I thought all the jars in the box they were empty. They weren't. I found, gosh, there's got to be at least a fucking ounce, like at least an ounce of home grow that I just found. So it's like, cool, sweet. Because harvest can't come soon enough. My home growers know that. If you're just tuning in, we're just having fun tonight. Sparking up, having fun. Anything, let me put this out there. Anything catching your attention out there? What's got your attention in cannabis policy right now? I'm just reading more headlines at marijuanamoment.net. Let's see if we can find this. I heard this is pretty funny. Can we find this? Hey, look, here it is. Wait a minute. They take it down. Apparently the state of Virginia made like the DMV, the state of Virginia. I might be able to show it. Hold on a second. This is weird. There's something going on with this video player, but I'm going to put this on the screen right now. Let's watch this together. I've not seen this yet, but I heard it's funny. The headline for Marijuana Moment is Virginia marijuana PSA pulled over concerns that its focus on relaxation didn't send. I heard that basically the state of Virginia put a PSA and they were trying to make cannabis look bad, and they kind of made it look cool, and so they pulled it. Heady Meds, we'll watch it in a second. Heady Meds asks, are seed sales going to be extended until December if that all goes through? Yes, I mean that it would be extended for an additional month. In the last broadcast we had, somebody that is in touch with hemp policy. I don't know how authoritative what they say is, candidly, but they've not been crazy wrong. I will just say that. I just also don't keep track of all the times they've been wrong. I just will say that they've been right a number of times. So I'm just trying to be fair. But our guest that was in the episode that I displayed on screen a little bit between the debate between Annie and Brian, I think were their names. Brian for sure, but I can't remember if it was Annie or not. I'm sorry. I'll look that up here in just a moment. But Brian is predicting there's going to be a year-long extension after the month-long extension. So I don't know. I don't know what it actually looks like. Apologies. I just want to make sure I've got this name right. Yeah, it was Annie and Brian. It was streamed 3 days ago. Today is August 11th. ColeMemo.com/YouTube. So some people are calling for a year-long extension. We'll see. We shall see. Let's watch this PSA. And I apologize. There's some like weird graphic in front of it. Well, let's see it. Apparently, if you're just tuning in now, the Virginia, this state of Virginia, like the DMV or somebody, I'll look at the finer details in a moment. But apparently this PSA, this public service announcement, was pulled over concerns that it focused too much on relaxation, I guess, instead of like conveying the concerns you should have with cannabis. Again, I'm sorry. I don't know why this is displayed the way that it is, but let's watch it. Okay. Hey, look at that. Worked the way I wanted to. Let's pull it up here. That'll look better. Here we go.
If you get high, to relax. Relax. Don't drive.
Okay. I can see why they might have pulled that. That definitely leaned way more into the relax. Virginia officials withdrew a new ad campaign aimed at discouraging marijuana impaired driving over, quote, concerns, end quote, that it missed the mark, the Department of Motor Vehicles told Marijuana Moment. Brandon Krieger says that was a pretty good weed commercial. Yeah. Penny Pebble Ripplers says the governor here in, are you from Virginia? That's cool. If you are, cheers from Illinois to Virginia. Penny Pebble Ripplers says the governor here in Virginia is not for the good herb at all. Okay. Is that governor? What's the governor's name there? And is it? Hold on a second. I'm gonna tell you what I said before I Google it. Governor Spanberger. Let's see if I'm right. I was right. Governor Abigail Spanberger. Let's throw Spanberger on screen. Bang. Governor Spanberger. That is what they look like. If you're wondering, look at me go. All right. Well, that's pretty much, again, I didn't have really much to discuss tonight. Definitely watching the hemp policy debate. I think that the House is back, like the House at a federal level will be back in September or something like that. Maybe at the end of August. I don't really know. But I'm definitely watching that as it unfolds. It's definitely interesting to see that unfold because hemp just will not quit. And I'm here for it because what it seems to have led to so far is more access to the cannabis plant. These corporations seem upset because of that, I almost get some people that are trying to have arguments on the merits that like bad actors could set us back. But I also, on the other hand of that, think that by saying that is buying in actually to reefer madness. Because look at all of the bad things that happen with alcohol. So like, will it set us back? Will we have to undo all the laws? And I understand that alcohol is a constitutional amendment. So it's like pretty hard to put that genie back in the bottle. But states do regulate alcohol differently, for sure. Some states, as we talked about with my friend Phil a few episodes ago, they don't regulate alcohol in a way that is cool, man. It can be actually a bummer to shop for alcohol in some states, just like it's a bummer to shop for cannabis in some states. I don't know. Just kind of talking out loud here. What do you all think? What do you all think? I am so curious. Because sometimes, candidly, I feel like I'm going fucking crazy over here. I have people that reach out to me about cannabis policy, and they're like, what do you think about, this hemp thing? The ban is extended or whatever. And I'm like, it's not extended yet. The House still has to vote on it, and then the president does too. The Senate definitely overwhelmingly voted on it. So, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just like, I don't know. All I know is that it seems like the conversation is not with what we're having here on this show. And that's okay. I'm not saying that I'm right. I would love it if somebody disagrees with me on this policy, could substantiate why, and we could have a practical, constructive conversation about that. But so far, I have not been convinced of a different way. I feel like I'm only becoming more radical by the day. And I try to like check myself. I try to like be like, well, am I on the right track? Like maybe there is a downside to having too many licenses. I try to like humor that thought, and I just can't. I can't. Can't get it. So I'm curious. What do y'all think? Penny Pebbler Pimp. Man, you have I'm sorry. Penny Pebble Ripplers. It's a hard username to pronounce. What is said and what is done? Two different things, as always. Yeah. All right. Well, drop your comments if you don't have anything before we go. That's all right. Let me open up Twitter, because sometimes Twitter is a little sneaky. You have some haters sniping on Twitter, posting comments that for some reason you can't see in the chat. It's like, bro, post it in the chat. Say it with your chest. Nothing. Nothing from the folks on X. Penny Pebble Ripplers. I was doing good until that last time I read your username, and then I messed up. All right. Well, again, I don't think I'm going to be on next Tuesday. I'll probably, there's a chance I'll pop up in between then and now, or before the next Tuesday, but I'll keep you posted on what the schedule's like. There's just going to be a little switch up in my personal schedule, so we're going to try to figure that out, deal with that. But I will pop up from time to time with more content. I definitely have a lot of content on the back burner. I'm waiting for responses from the state and different people on different pieces of content. I think I got a FOIA back this Friday that I haven't reviewed on a home grow story that I'm working on. I need to review that and then start getting back to editing all that footage together. It's going to be interesting. Okay, here's a question before we go that I think I have the answer to. If the federal delay goes through to December 11th, does Illinois law automatically adjust to December 11th as well? From what I understand, no. No. And we covered this on, and the reason I say that, I say we, but hold on a second. This was covered on, sorry, I'm looking for it. An episode in the past. It was a question that was posted. And of course, I can't find it right now. Oh, here we go. So episode, what's the episode number? Well, it was posted on May 31st, 2026, if you're looking on our YouTube channel. I don't know the episode number right now. However, the question, there was a few questions that were asked, and one of them specifically was, what happens to the Illinois Hemp Act if a change in federal hemp statute takes effect after November 13th, 2026? In that case, the Illinois Hemp Act will remain in effect exactly as written in Illinois. And if federal statute changed before November 13th, should the Illinois Hemp Act have an actual conflict, the federal statute will take precedence. So, yeah. It's going to be banned in Illinois is basically the issue. And Guapotron says, relax. Yeah, roll it up and relax, people. I don't think so. Yeah, Illinois law will trigger anyway. Even if hemp is not banned at a federal level, it will be banned in Illinois at the federal definition that was proposed, which is great. It was not, in my opinion, it's not actually great because, you know, kind of ends the era of descheduled cannabis for now in the state of Illinois, but that's just my personal take on the matter. I'm sure it'll come back around because this is the thing. You can't just present people with that reality and then just, you know, the drinks can't just disappear. People are going to ask questions and it'll be interesting. So I listened when they passed the law live and really late at night. They discussed that any federal adjustments would make Illinois odd. No, watch that episode that I mentioned again, because I was just reading the transcript and yeah. Frank LaBarbara says hemp isn't on a schedule. No, correct. Sorry. If I said it was, I apologize. Because that's what I find that's cool about hemp. I put it in air quotes because this is the thing that kind of drives me nuts. Cannabis is a scientific term. Hemp is an arbitrary term. Marijuana is an arbitrary term. So, like, it'd be cool. Like, it would be actually really cool if there was like a term for psychoactive cannabis and a term for whatever else that would make people happy. But just right now, there's not. Other than those arbitrary terms, find one that's based in science is my suggestion to people that want to have that nuanced question, because I think that's that nuanced conversation. I actually do think that's a really awesome conversation to have. And I think a framework for that is sort of the types of cannabis. So cannabis type 1 through, I think there's like 5 different types. I think that is the way to start to categorize it, because of course there was that age where people categorize cannabis as sativa, indica, or hybrid. And it's like, first of all, those terms are meant to describe physical adaptations. So they're supposed to be botanical terms used to describe physical characteristics / adaptations. Those terms were never meant to, and never in any other context are used. The genus of the species is never used to describe physiological effects of consuming that species. Hilarious. So that's what like kind of the bro science of cannabis has been so thus far. It's still like you go to a dispensary and they categorize things as sativa and indica, and it's like, okay. It's really funny when you see the same product. When you see the same product labeled differently, sometimes you'll see like the same strain labeled as a sativa and an indica. That's really funny. Yeah, Carl Linnaeus. People know their binomial nomenclature. Hell yeah. Carl Linnaeus is Carl Linnaeus the dude that did the experiments on beans? I always get this mixed up. Let's Google Carl Linnaeus. I don't think that is. Hold on. Carl Linnaeus beans. He formally established the genus for common beans. But is he the guy that... Am I just high right now? And oh fuck. Misremembering biology. Help me out before we wrap. Carl Linnaeus, Swedish biologist. Yeah, bro, I nailed it. He formalized binomial nomenclature. Get the fuck out of here. Gregor Mendel did the pea experiments. Thank you. Look at us coming together. This is what needed to happen tonight. This is what needed to happen for sure. Well, on that note, guys, got anything else we want to chop up? Because if not, I think I'm gonna wrap it like this joint. Guap, you still tuned in? You must have tuned in on a spicy part if you came in saying relax. I'm curious where you came in saying that. Did I miss anything? Fairness and equity under the law will only flow from the right to home grow, especially for renters. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that'll wrap us then. Oh, you know what? Yeah, Brandon Krieger said, I bet he came in saying relax from the weed commercial with those dudes I still want to smoke with. Yeah, dude, that straight up. That they were saying relax in that commercial. Man, that was hilarious. I'm glad Guapo saw that. I thought he was tuning in when I was complaining about something, because that happens on the show. So I figured he was saying relax. If you are a home grower, get a volcano, makes the most of what you grow. That's what Genetic Memory Farms says. Okay. For sure. Have to try it out. Well, folks, on that note, I'll be off next Tuesday, but typically I go live every Tuesday at 7:15 p.m. Central Time. Today is August 11th, 2026. It's just past 8:10 p.m. and we'll leave you with this calming message. Relax. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Cheers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you don't want to miss another broadcast, be sure to subscribe on YouTube or at colememo.com/subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please like, share, and consider visiting colememo.com/support. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you'll join me on the next broadcast of
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo.
I mean, you have to respect the memo.
My new life goal is to become important enough that when I say the Cole Memo, it makes it into that intro.
I got the memo.
Thanks, Cole Memo. Appreciate it.